Thank you very much, Kiran. I'd like to thank NASSCOM and International Business Wales, who I knew as the Welsh Development Authority earlier, for this opportunity. We were having a quick chat before we came here, and one of the things that emerged was, advertently or inadvertently, the sheer lack of business that India and continental Europe do, or clearly the opportunity that there is. And I think a lot of statistics are weighed towards the United Kingdom in terms of outsourcing as well as other IT relationships. So I think we're going to spend some time trying to understand, and as one of the panelists said, how can India crack the code when it comes to continental Europe? I mean, and I'm sure we'll learn from panelists like Bernard here, but how companies in Europe, maybe companies in France, view Indian relationships and what Indian companies need to do. So those are going to be some of the broader areas. Specifically, we're going to talk about two or three things. One is a sort of landscape understanding of where India-EU relationship stands from a purely IT business point of view. Is it growing? Are we seeing only rollover of existing contracts? What's the growth like, or what's the growth going to be? Number two, which are the sort of areas in terms of geographies and verticals that Europe would look at for growth? Where do locations like India figure in the equation when it comes to outsourcing? What are the sort of advantages and disadvantages of a location like India for outsourcing? What are the experiences that clients in continental Europe and maybe the United Kingdom have had with Indian service providers? What are the areas that they're looking for when it comes to upgradation of either skills or breadth of experience or other experiences that people would like to share? So these are some of the 3 or 4 things that we're going to talk about under the head of fueling Indo-EU trade and investments. And the way we're going to go about it is this. I'm going to ask each of our panelists to speak for a couple of minutes, and then we try and interact with each other and see quite simply how India can crack the code. So let me ask Subhash to kick off. Subhash Menon, founder, chairman, managing director of and CEO of Subex Technologies. Subex Azure, actually. And we'll go this way.
Thanks, Govind. Good morning, everybody. Well, coming from a Subex perspective, we have viewed Europe as a very, very key, partner for us, or key market for us. Not just EU, but the overall European continent. I mean, overall. But within that, I mean, in EU itself, because EU is expanding, we've looked at ways and means of getting into the market, and the strategy that we used, as some of you may be aware, was to go and acquire a company in UK, which gave us a significant presence within UK and also with several other European countries. So the result of that is today we are able to win significant contracts from. We are a telecom. We work in the telecom space. We're a telecom software product company. So our view is only that of a telecom software solution provider. I mean, not in other verticals. So within that vertical, what we have seen is that some of the largest telecom players in the world are today headquartered in Europe. So it's extremely critical for us to be working with these partners. And we saw significant amount of resistance initially when we were trying to kind of enter those markets, particularly the Western European markets. Not so much the erstwhile Eastern European markets, and some of whom are, some of those countries are now part of EU, of course. So in order to enter the Western European market, we really thought an acquisition would be the best market entry strategy, and that's what we did. The European one. And of course, there were lots of experiences that came with that. I mean, several things that we had to go through, and I'm sure we'll debate on those things as we move forward. But all I would like to tell you at this point in time is that it's a very, very important market. It's an important. It's a market that cannot be forgotten, or we have to address that. And we saw that probably one of the best ways to enter that is through an acquisition strategy, and that has really worked for us. We've been there for almost a year now after that transaction, or about 8 months or so, and that has really worked for us. And we are definitely looking at exploring further relationships as we move forward.
Okay, thank you. Phil Morris, CEO and founder member of Morgan Chambers, a leading specialist outsourcing consulting firm.
I think it's very interesting to look at Europe as one set of geographies, because actually it's fundamentally not one thing, and one approach can't actually solve the issues of a region, where actually outsourcing as a subject, whether it's to India, a European player or a large US player, still has some pockets of resistance in some cultures. Europe is very, very different from the US, represents currently about the same size of population and kind of economic power as North America, but it's very, very diverse. Its history is actually important for most people to understand, to actually successfully do business there. And you can't get away from the kind of socio-economic history of Europe over the last 100 years or so, because it's still within the memories of the people that live on today. The market for outsourcing has changed quite fundamentally in the time that I've been involved with it. I've been in sourcing and outsourcing for over 20 years, since before it was called outsourcing. And now we're seeing a fundamental change whereby the original wave of large-scale outsourcing, say 10 to 15 years ago in the UK, is breaking up into smaller contracts and opening up to much greater possibilities for Indian and other nationality of service providers. But this isn't clearly something that's present in the rest of Europe, with most of continental Europe untapped by offshoring and relatively untapped by the whole of outsourcing. So, interesting debate I'm sure we're going to have about different countries, different socio-economic changes, the differences by sector, because they can't be ignored, the level of technology in each industry, and what actually is going to change to unlock that. So I'm looking forward to the debate.